Hey, we're talking about multitracks today and what to do with them. I buy these from multitracks.com for the most part, and you download a zip file, and within it, they give you an Ableton project file, which I don't use. I just prefer to use my own template, which you can see right here. And I basically just start from scratch and mix them myself, but you can use theirs. It might save some time, but for me, I prefer my process. So within it is the folder called Multitracks, and that is what I use though. So I'm going to highlight all of these, and then I'm going to drag them into my my template basically, and then I'm going to save this as. Actually, you know what? Let me start over. I jumped a step. Let's do this first. So before we put anything in here, we need to make a song folder. So what I do is Holy Ground, we'll just save it on the desktop for right now. And then you can kind of, well, let's see. Here's that project I made. And then within it, I want to make sure that our multi-tracks for Holy Ground are in that. So again, I make my own. They kind of give you one, but I just preferred my way. I'm also going to make sure that the MP3 is in there too, so that I have access to that. So this is the folder on my external hard drive, which is done. And then now I'm basically just starting it from scratch. So I'm trying to recreate this. So you got the multi-tracks, you've got the original MP3, and then you got the file right here that we're currently working on. So what I'm going to do first is probably drag the original MP3. I know the tempo, it's 72. You can get that from Multitracks that's usually how I figure that out. What I'm going to do first to line up this with the grid is double click this file, click warp, zoom in, and I'm going to grab like the first obvious transient in the song, and then right click on it, and then hit set 1-1 here. And then that drags that to a starting spot. Now I'm going to drag that all the way back. I'm going to unwarp it, and now you can see it's locked to the grid, whereas before, it wasn't locked onto the grid. So now it's perfectly in time with our session. I'll probably also do like locators here too. Since this is a slow song as well, I'll probably just have 1 bar of count in. So there's the intro. Trying to think of how this song goes. Let's just listen to it together. Yeah, we're good there. Okay, usually every 8 bars. Sections change, so we can kind of just guess. Probably 26 the turn. It's going to be a 4-bar turnaround, I think, to verse 2, and then we probably got 8 more bars, and then we're back to a chorus. You can kind of see it right there. It's like an obvious break in section. I think that's a double chorus. So that's going to be a chorus repeat right there. And then, what would that put us at? 54 for what I'm going to call an interlude. Okay, it's going to be bridge. There's repeat bridge. And then we've got another interlude. It's going to probably be at 78. Then we go back to the bridge at 86. And then the song ends at probably like 94. So I'm gonna cut the click there, no outro, copy the end cue to lead into this. And then, so there's our song map right there. I'm also gonna wanna change this click subdivision to an eighth note click. So the way that I do that is I'm going to use this 4/4 eighth note click instead. And I kind of referenced that in another one of these videos. So anyways, that's, we got the original track in there. I'm going to mute that now. Okay, and now let's start dragging in the multis. So select them all, hold command, drop in this open space. Once they're dropped, you can lift off command. A lot of these have longer count-ins than I want, so I'm going to get rid of the first bar. And we might need to fade it in, possibly. So just basically moved it back a bar, you can see. I prefer to I prefer to label these how I want them to be labeled. I'm a little bit OCD with some of this stuff, so don't feel like you have to do it my way. And someone's mixing tracks in the house. Sorry about that noise. Oh, God. Okay. I'm going to collapse these, and then I like to group these, or not group them, but just kind of put them in the order that I know exactly where they're at. So I actually don't need click. I don't need guide since we've made our own. So I always do... kind of like that for my guitar stuff. Piano is always the top melodic one. Vocals, it's always from like lowest to highest part. These are just BGVs. You never get the lead vocal, by the way, when you buy the multis. BGV is probably like a gang vocal, I would guess. Let's listen to what... Yeah, we're going to call that gang vox. All right, and then they always do this where they just say kind of keys 1, 2, 3. You never really know what those are. Those could be pads, synths. Let's listen though. Okay, I'm gonna call that pad, and actually our keys player is gonna play that. Oh, sorry, let's check out this one. All right, we'll call that synth. It's a little bit more percussive. And then let's check out this one. We'll call that like bright pad. So that helps me kind of know what these things actually are so that they're just not keys 1, 2, 3. So I'm kind of dropping these underneath their subgroup right now. And again, this is just my way of doing this. I've probably done it this way for like 10 years. You do not have to do it this way. This is just my way to do it. So I then prefer to color code these and then send them, send them down their subgroups. So that way I can just manipulate them quicker and solo them quicker and things like that. So all this just helps me work more efficiently. All right, so we got everything going to a group. On each subgroup is a limiter, which is just not adding volume, but just catching peaks so that it doesn't clip. And then all these 4 groups go to this submaster, which also has a limiter on it, which is doing the same thing, just catching peaks, not adding any volume. All right, so now we're ready to start. Well, I guess we're mostly done, really, if this is the short version. So what I would do is kind of the whole point of this is I need to mix this output against the original MP3, because what I found with multitracks, when you buy them, the volumes are all over the place from song to song. Sometimes they are mixed at the volume of the original MP3. Sometimes they're as much as 10 decibels under. And what we can't do is we can't count on front of house to kind of balance those, because they're probably not going to know that. And also, we will never hear that volume makeup difference in our ears. So I pre-mix all these so that from song to song, they're kind of mixed and mastered, I guess is kind of what I would refer to that. So I solo back between the original recording and then, let me just show you that real quick. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we are going to use some sort of device to turn up the volume of our multi-tracks. So you can do this a bunch of different ways. So you could use a utility plugin and just turn up your submaster 6 dB before it hits the limiter. I'm going to turn that off right now. You could grab all the tracks and just turn them up 6 dB. So I just undid that as well. You could also just turn up, well, I guess I should be using plugins that come with Ableton for free. So here's Ableton's limiter. We could just turn up the limiter 6 dB. All those are doing the exact same thing, but basically we need more volume out of these tracks to be the same volume as the original. So I already know that the difference in volume here is 6 dB for this song, so I'm not really figuring it out, but I'm kind of just listening for peaks. So let's do this one more time with this 6 dB difference. All right, so from doing a lot of critical listening and back and forth, I know that 6 dB is where I landed, so we're going to go with that. What I do now, again, this is just me. Well, actually, I did forget a step. So these electric 1, 2, 3 tracks, we need to figure out what these are, because that doesn't mean like lead rhythm kind of something. We need to determine like what parts our lead guitar player and our rhythm guitar player are going to play. So let me listen to those real quick and we'll figure that out. All right, that one's obvious. That's the lead track. This one is the rhythm track. So I guess this one did work out that way. And then let's look at electric 3. I'm going to keep that title electric 3. It almost sounds more like a synth piano, kind of a texture thing. So we're just going to keep that tracked. So what I like to do now is I like to, I don't know why, just because this is how I do it, but I'll mute my stuff that's going to be played live. And mute my vocals, mute my drums. So now we're just left with just the tracks that'll be out on the house. All right, we'll save that. And then again, this is just what I do, but I need to find something to remember my naming process for this. So now we're going to export these in order to get them out into a exported folder where they're mixed and grouped and named appropriately. Just bear with me for 1 second. Okay, now I've got my sheet up here. So what we're going to do is, so we did this 6 dB increase in volume with the limiter. So let's just copy that. I'm going to delete all these groups I made, which I know seems counterintuitive, but I'm going to delete them. I'm going to route these back through the master track. Now we're going to turn everything on. So this is purely just for exporting. I would have saved this and this would be my file that I'd always have back open to before I started deleting all these groups and stuff. So I don't need drums. I don't need vocals. The rest of the stuff I'll need. So we're going to call that drum loop. Drum loop is 16, pianos 1, synth is 7, keys are 2. We're going to call that pad. That's going to be for bass. We're going to call it that. Acoustic is 11. Lead electric is 12. Rhythm is 13. Electric 3, I think, is 14. Yeah, and that's it. So we can also delete the original at this point. We don't need that. Clicking keys, I'll just keep in there. Just anyways. So we're going to export. I'm sorry, I forgot something important. We need to paste on that limiter on each of these tracks that is increasing the volume 6 dB. Let me show you one more thing, because I feel like I'm skipping something that this song just doesn't have. So let's pretend that like both of these files were going to be our pad track, and that they're we need to like group things together, I guess, and make another file that has more than one track in it. So I'm going to select both of these. I'm going to hit Command G, or just right click and hit group tracks. And now here I'm going to label it. Let's just say I label it 04 pad. Well, now this track 04 pad is both of these sounds. So a lot of times I'll group up similar instruments and I'll put multiple things into the pad or the track called like pad or synth or things like that. But for this song, we don't need this. So I'm going to undo what I just did. That was just for kind of showing you how to do that. All right, now we're ready to export. So you may not hear me for a bit while this happens. So we're going to select all the tracks we want to export. Oh, I need to listen to one more thing for the beginning to see if that fade in was right. I may do something like that or something. Okay, got these tracks selected here that we want to export. Oops, and we need to put the limiter on those. So the limiter is the thing that is stopping things from peaking, but also in this case, it's turning things up 6 dB so that we are mixed at the same volume as the original recording. And let's make sure we got it on every one of those tracks. We did. Okay, let's select all the tracks we want to export, which are all of these. We're going to right click, hit Shift Command R, and that'll pop this thing up. Let's just do it this way too. Export audio. That'll pop that up. I'm using multiple windows, so it's kind of doing it weirdly right now, but we're going to change the rendered track to selected tracks only, which will export all of these individually, which is awesome. It's a huge time saver. So selected tracks only. These are my settings. If you just want to look at those, I'm going to hit export, and then I'm going to name my file. I always do the name of the song, the tempo, the key, a dash, and then it'll just throw all of those onto there after that. All right, you can hear me again. So now those are all on my desktop. I'm going to create a folder that you can't see right now, but I'm typing it. So here's the here's the folder I just made. Here's all those tracks we just exported. Oops. I put an equals instead of a dash. Whoops. Another annoying thing, I probably should have just changed this a long time ago with how I did it, but the asterisks don't export as asterisks. They change to underscores, which is really annoying because then you got to go back in and change them. Again, if I could do this all over again, I probably just would have not used the asterisk, but now it's too late. All right. So we're going to fix these capitalized instruments. They're going to be played by live musicians. And boom. So now what we have is instead of this, which is, you got 17 tracks here. They're not really mixed. The naming system is fine, but it's just not what I prefer. And then maybe we wanted to change the key or change the song arrangement or change something. We could do all that. So that's what these are here. These are our exported files that are our version of the song that are named how we want them. And they're just good to go every time we do the song from now on. So that's it. That's how to do this the quick and easy way. So hopefully that was helpful.